Hi, my name is Brian Etkin, and I'm going to be doing some short videos on learning gardens. And what we are going to be looking at in this series, first episode, is how to seamlessly integrate the indoor and the outdoor learning garden. And instead of telling you all of the benefits of it, I think it's just a lot simpler to go ahead and do some demonstrations and hands-on sort of real-life experiences so you could decide for yourself. So a really great herb to grow is garlic, and one of the reasons that it's great to grow is it's literally foolproof. So if you take a clove of garlic and you don't do anything to the garlic, just basically with the flat edges, you put it into a tray with some water. What will happen in about 4 or 5 days, you'll have all these beautiful roots, and the garlic chive will have grown, so you actually have greens that you could harvest and eat. And you could also take this a step further and plant it outside in the springtime with soil, or you could plant it in containers inside your classroom and then take it outside when the weather warms up. So one of the things that you could do with the garlic, having it in the classroom, is if you do have a window, just put it in a window where there's some light. Could be a north-facing window. If not, any type of reasonable grow light will work. If you take a look at this, you can see there's just beautiful roots that have developed. And what I'm going to do is show you a really simple way in the classroom to talk about repurposing and recycling. So we're just going to take this 2-liter milk container, and we're going to have a system that doesn't use any soil at all. And really simple, if you see the label on the 2-liter milk carton, we're just going to take an X-Acto knife and just follow that the top of the label. And the reason I like this variation of making the using the 2-liter pop bottles is that we're using pea gravel, so it has a lot of weight, so that when they're in the classroom it's a lot less likely that it's going to get knocked over. And as well, it's not very high, so it's quite stable. So all we've done is taken the top and we've cut it off here, and we're going to put a few slits in it so that water could get into it. So I'm just making some slits here so water gets in. You don't want to go all the way through with your slits to the very end. You just kind of want to do maybe about 4 or 5. And you've got your slits in it. So this is going to allow the water to get into the grow medium. And the grow medium that we're using is just some pea gravel. And the pea gravel, because of the size of it, even when there's water in it, it still has a lot of pockets and air and oxygen, so the roots get oxygen and they have room to breathe. And what we need is the bottom of this, so if we just sort of take a look at that, we're just going above this part right here. And I usually like to take a place where there's a line to follow for cutting it. So there's a line on this label here, a big black line. So I'm just going to follow that line because that makes it a lot simpler for me to try to get it cut. So it looks like a nice even. And there we go. It's ready to use. And all I'm going to do is, for demonstration purposes, you can see how the water gets into the container and it slowly drains out. And so all we've done is add the pea gravel into this part. And I'm going to just take one of the chives that we're growing, and I'm going to just gently make a space to put it in. And there it is. So we've demonstrated in the classroom to students how we could easily recycle and repurpose something like a 2-liter container. And we're using it for the garlic. We're growing the garlic in a media that's pea gravel. So it's a very important concept that you could teach the students. If we tried to do this with soil, it wouldn't work because the soil would just get completely soaken because we have the water traveling through it, so it would absorb the water, and through osmosis it would just be completely soaken and wet. The roots can't survive. But the roots could survive in pea gravel, and that's because of the nature of the pea gravel and the size that there's all these pockets of air, so you don't get solid water. So one of the things as well, you may not be so focused or have a green thumb or be into the gardening, but what's beautiful about something like garlic is how you could connect yourself and the students to it by learning a little bit about the history of garlic. And I think when we get connected and understand our food, that we just have a lot more respect for it when we're eating it, and it just is great for conversation and historical perspectives to appreciate how important the role that garlic has played. And so garlic has been around for probably 3,000 or 4,000 years, and it actually was involved in one of the first labor disputes, I believe in about 1500. There was the pyramids were being built, and they had eliminated garlic from the diet that they were giving the workers, and the workers went on strike because they weren't getting their garlic anymore. So interesting history to garlic also is not only for cooking, but medicinally it's played a very important role for thousands of years, and was used in World War I and World War II as an antibiotic. And again, it's interesting that you could get into some of the science with your students and actually do experiments with Petri dishes. I'll give you the YouTube link where there's an incredible experiment that demonstrates garlic's antimicrobial and its properties, antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. It demonstrates it very clearly in that it prevents different types of bacteria and mold from growing. And then scientifically, it's very interesting that with the raw garlic, when it's crushed, it has... Okay, so when it gets crushed, you get something called sulfinic acid that's set off. And what happens is it's unstable and it breaks down into another compound called allicin. So interesting, notice allicin, penicillin. So allicin is what is a strong antibiotic property of garlic. So there's been some interesting research that's been done, more contemporary, that's demonstrated unequivocally the antibiotic characteristics of garlic. So it's interesting that in its raw form, crushed, it has a lot of benefits and probably has a lot of health benefits when you eat it in cooking as well. So I think what's interesting is that when you're bringing the garlic into the classroom, you're bringing a history that goes thousands and thousands of years into it that's very interesting. It was used in the first Olympics. The Greek runners and Olympians ate garlic because they thought that would improve their performances. So it's really interesting that, there's the analogy to health and fitness and importance about nutrition and what we eat. But thousands of years, athletes and individuals were still subscribing and to that philosophy of how important your diet is. And I believe Hippocrates had said that, your food is your medicine and your medicine is your food.